Hi there, this is Judy DiLorenzo from A Life Well Planted. And I made this grain-free, gluten-free, vegan gnocchi dough recipe recently. And so I'd like to demonstrate how I make the shapes and the ridges using two methods. Just to back up for a second, my last name, as I said, is DiLorenzo. And I've been with my husband for over 40 years, so I've been cooking and eating a lot of Italian food even before then. Growing up, my uncle, who lived in the three-family house that I grew up in, was Italian, last name Longo. So Italian food, gnocchi and other pastas, has been part of my paradigm for a long time. And when I became wheat-free, mostly wheat-free. When I was sick, I had to be 100% wheat-free, but now I'm able to enjoy a little bit. But when I switched my diet to vegan and reduced the grains, especially when I was healing, I stopped eating traditional homemade pastas. I have been buying rice pasta and quinoa and legume pastas. But this was my first try making my own pasta, and I have to say I'm really excited and really happy with the results. It was weird because I decided to try it. I knew I wanted to use garbanzo bean flour. I threw together garbanzo bean flour with the steamed mashed potatoes, a little bit of salt, and my first try was really delicious. I made it another time and I had my son taste it as well, and he agreed that it's really delicious, but we all talked about how it could be a little bit lighter. It was a little bit grainy. So the third time I made it, I added cassava flour, which is, cassava is a root. It's called the yucca root. I recently made a tortilla recipe using the cassava flour, so you can see that also on my blog. So I've begun, exploring. I've been working with garbanzo bean flour for a while, so now I'm learning how to use cassava. So I added a little bit of the cassava to this recipe, and it lightened it up just perfectly. And so it's even that much better now. So before I get into demonstrating how to make the shapes and roll the ridges, I've got my wine here, my organic wine. Thought it would loosen me up a little. I don't know, is it working? Hopefully, because a lot of times when I do these videos, I seem a little bit uptight, so, I'm trying to loosen up. So, the two ways to make the ridges is to use this gnocchi board. I got this one at Sur La Table recently. Very inexpensive. You can also get it online through Bed Bath & Beyond. So, that's one way. If you don't want to bother getting a gnocchi board, if you don't have a big kitchen like me and you have nowhere to put it, all you need is a fork. So that's the other way. Before I do the demonstration, I want to brag a little bit about my husband's, see, the wine is working. I forgot what this is called. Broccoli Rob, growing in the greenhouse. He was out there today doing some prep, some weeding to get ready for the new season. And lo and behold, we have a very early spring crop of broccoli Rob. So I'm hopeful that this is just the beginning and that we're going to have a bunch of it, because this is one of my favorites, especially when it's young like this. You pick it when it's young and tender. Oh, it's so good. Sauteed with a bunch of garlic. Love it. Okay, there's the preface. Let's get started. Gnocchi time. Okay, so here we have a pound of dough. The recipe makes 2 pounds. The first pound I already formed and cooked and we had for dinner. The second pound I'm going to form into gnocchi and then freeze single layer on parchment lined trays, and once they're frozen down in our deep freezer, I'll be able to put them through the food saver and vacuum seal the bags, and it'll be wonderful being able to pull a bag of gnocchi out for dinner, just like when you go to the grocery store and you buy frozen gnocchi, except this is better because it's homemade and it's vegan and grain-free. Okay, If you want to only make 1 pound of dough, just cut the recipe in half. There's also a slide bar on my recipe, so you can adjust the portion size up or down, and the measurements will automatically adjust. It's kind of cool to do that. You'll have to try out to slide that bar. Okay, let's get started. Just so you know, when I was doing the preface video, I did a few takes. The dough dried out a little bit, and I did have to hydrate it. I just, put some water in my hands and kneaded a little bit of dough in. A little bit of the water in. Hopefully this is going to work, but it's a good lesson for all of us that if you don't use the dough right away, you really have to cover it with a wet towel or a wet paper towel. So what I do is I use a 3/4 teaspoon measurer just to get an idea of how much dough to pinch off. Once you get the hang of it, you won't have to use the measurer. And you're going to simply make a compact ball and then just roll it against the ridges like so, and you end up with gnocchi. The deeper the ridges, the more they'll maintain even after being cooked in the boiling water. Because what you're going to do is you're going to cook them for 3 or 4 minutes. That's all it takes. They'll rise to the top, and then you'll cook for another 30 to 60 seconds. Taste them, make sure you like the doneness. Don't overcook or they'll start to fall apart and they won't be so good. But really just 3 to 4 minutes. What I like to do is I will then put the gnocchi in my sauce. So I'll have the sauce on the stove warm in a saucepan, and then you use a slotted spoon to get the gnocchi out of the boiling water, and I put it right in the sauce and then serve. It works great. Okay, so now I'd like to demonstrate using the fork method. Again, once you get the hang of how much dough to pinch off, you won't have to really use the measurer, and then things will speed up. It doesn't really take that long. I'm making it look like it takes a long time because I'm trying to talk to you while I do it, and I can't do 2 things at once. Okay, so you take the ball and you roll it against the fork, and it makes the ridges, and that's it. And it doesn't have to be perfect because truth is it'll cook whether it has the ridges or not. It's just nice to add the ridges. It holds the sauce a little bit better. I know if you use wheat flour, you're going to end up with a impression in the dough from your thumb, but with this dough it doesn't happen. It's just not wheat. So if that's the only advantage to using wheat flour for gnocchi, who needs it? Who needs the thumb mark? There you go. Aren't they cute? So that's it. I hope this has been helpful. Again, the recipe is on my blog, and please remember, if you're not eating for health, you're eating for disease, so make every mouthful count.